Hello and welcome to ExegeTV. I'm Michael Halcomb. In this episode, I want to talk about how to structure or outline a sermon. If you want to be a good teacher and preacher, you have to put a lot into your message, your sermon. So I want to share with you the way that I kind of build my sermons. Now, I'm not going to deal with the study and the research part here. What I'm going to talk about now is what to do once you've completed your research and your study and you've decided what the point of the passage is that you're going to preach on. So really, what we're going to look at is how to structure, or better yet, outline the sermon. Now, as I said in a previous episode, your sermon probably shouldn't be a 3-point sermon. I prefer a 1-point sermon. It's a lot easier for people to remember 1 point than 3 points. Plus, you can keep revisiting that 1 point from a variety of perspectives in your sermon. Allows you to stay focused on your 1 point all throughout. It aligns with whatever the point of your text may be. And so all that's actually already been dealt with in previous episodes. So I'm going to move on to how you structure or outline your sermon, your message. I structure my sermon according to what I see as the basic rules of discussion or debate. That is, I use this method whereby I repeatedly, throughout the entire sermon, I cycle through 3 ideas over and over and over again, repetitiously. Argumentation, illustration, and application. I refer to it as the AIA method. The AIA method. Argumentation, illustration, and application. Over and over and over. It's a cycle. Think of it this way. Your sermon, it's a grouping of arguments and images and applications. Or think of it this way. If you were to sit down at a table and debate a passage of Scripture with someone, which, to some degree, your sermon should always have elements of debate and argument within it, because you're debating and arguing with the scholars that you've engaged. But if you were to sit down at a table and debate a passage of Scripture with someone, you would begin by delineating what the argument really is. So you'd acknowledge the argument. From there, to prove your point, you would move into a stage of imagery or illustration. You'd tell a story, something to make your point. And then you would speak about how that point is relevant and applicable to the subject matter. Well, the sermon is the same thing. It's very similar. So I break my sermons up into 3 actually big sections where this cycle of AIA keeps happening over and over in each section. So argumentation, illustration, application. I do that throughout the whole sermon. It allows me to keep my arguments focused. It allows me to keep my arguments tight. It allows me to explain my point, to revisit the point that I've been trying to make over and over and over. And remember, each of the arguments that you're offering throughout is but a subset of what should be the bigger argument, the 1 point you're trying to make. You can go to my website actually and visit the free Bible resources page, and you scroll down to this episode that you're watching now, and below it you'll find a PDF file for free. It's one of my own skeleton outlines, so you can see what it would look like and maybe try to use it. So in a very basic way, I use this AIA method, and that's how I set up my sermons week in and week out. That's how I set up a lecture week in and week out, a class even week in and week out. That's how I do it, the AIA method. Argumentation, illustration, application. So I hope that helps.